Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. Today, let's go over the market. The week has finally closed. What an absolute wild September. I learned my lesson. I think I mentioned this to you guys about a month ago, before September even started, actually. I remember saying something along the lines of how last year, September, was when I was still like, kind of learning, how to trade. I was learning the ups and downs still. It was like my first real year of, even remotely doing it at all. And last year, September, I learned the hard way how just atrociously bad September is. And thankfully, this time I didn't make the same mistake, right? So, and I did warn you guys about that. I think back in like August or something. I'm pretty sure I said it somewhere in August. Anyways, the point is the fact that Tesla ended up not doing horribly. I mean, down 1.16%, which isn't too bad. $265.10, which is, again, pretty okay compared to the market being down, more than Tesla, which, that alone is already a positive sign for Tesla. So let's talk about Tesla, guys. If you enjoyed the video, if you find these videos useful, helpful, informative, whatever, don't forget to hit that like button. I am also considering at some point, I'm not sure, I'm still like just thinking about it, maybe doing some kind of, like a private Discord, like a private Twitter, where people can, if they want to, pay like a small, like $5 or something like that, something small, like nothing crazy, I can maybe do call outs there, intraday sometimes as to if I see anything major. If that's something you find interesting or something you might be interested in, I guess hit the like button to let me know. I don't really know. It's just a thought. I'm not even sure if I'll do it. But anyways, throwing all that aside, let's talk about Tesla. So first and foremost, let's talk about it on the daily, right? So not much more to update on the daily that I haven't already said, right? The RSI is still pointing straight down. So ultimately it does tell me that the downtrend, overall is still there. Like we are still ultimately in a downtrend, even if we get some kind of bounce from here, from this general level ish, we are still ultimately in a downtrend, plain and simple, right? That's just, it is what it is. But that's fine. I think I told you guys how I expect Tesla to, at the very least, come down to like these levels here. Most likely, I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla, at some point, it comes down to even like 220 or something like that. Like this red line right here, essentially, this ultimate red line. Like I really would be surprised if we don't see Tesla somewhere around this level, which from here is like a decent drop still, right? Like, and it looks spooky. Like it does look a little scary, right? That's only like 14. That's about 15%. Okay, it's actually not as bad as I thought it would be. For some reason, this looks a lot more than 15%. This looks like it's at least a 30% drop. But it's only like another 15% from here, apparently. Let me double check that. Hold on. Really? Is that it? That's actually not that bad. In all honesty, that's really. Yeah, that's not atrocious. That's really not atrocious. Only about a 15% drop further. I think Tesla might still see. Not that bad. Not that bad. And I think that's like the realistic scenario that, might happen. I really, really would be surprised if we don't see Tesla between 230 to 220. Honestly, maybe even somewhere around end of October to early November. That really wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. That's still like my ultimate main price target. And again, the worst case price target, like the absolute just worst case, like in my opinion, like just, man, it's just, wow, this is bad. Like this is just really freaking bad. It's 150. That's like my, like just horrible, like just horrible, horrible scenario is this level right here. My realistic worst case, I wouldn't say this is realistic. That's the thing. This is just like unrealistic worst case. Realistic worst case, I would say, is about this 185-ish. And then, like quite bad would be this 200-ish area. And then the realistic worst case would be, pretty much my main price target is this 230 area to 220 area. But the overall accumulation to me, in my opinion, is going to be this range right here. This to me is like the overall accumulation range where you really want to just accumulate. Not financial advice, of course, make your own decisions. And then maybe leave a little bit of cash on the side, of course, in your portfolio or whatever to, buy the dip if it comes down to one of these two levels all the way down there, which it might, you never know. We'll see. Anyways, let's continue talking about the daily, right? So that's kind of like a longer perspective. On the shorter perspective-ish, I guess, yeah, the daily is still pointing straight downwards. The RSI making a lower low, pointing straight down. It's not looking great. Let's just say that. It's not looking great at all. And it doesn't look like the overall downtrend and, has been set in stone. It does not look like this will be the bottom. I would be like genuinely surprised if this is the bottom and we just somehow go to all-time highs from here. I guess it's technically possible. Like nothing is impossible. I would just give that like at best like a 10% chance, honestly. Like I really don't think that's gonna happen. I'm like 90% chance that we're gonna go like at the bare minimum, fill this gap, like bare minimum, at some point later this year, like minimum, like absolutely bare minimum, like yeah. Anyway, so that's kind of what I see in the daily, right? But now let's go over to the 4 hours. The 4 hours looking a little bit interesting. potential double bottom on the RSI, moving the RSI a little bit higher. You can see today, it is still making an ultimate higher low compared to this low over here, right? So if you compare that to over here, back when we were trading around this 273-ish level where the RSI was at, we are still making a higher low, even though it's, very close. It is getting really close, but we are making a higher low, which is great, even though the stock made a lower low. So the easiest way to look at this, guys, the easiest way to see this kind of, bullish divergence setting up is, it will do 1 hour. It's quite simple. Really, it's just RSI. Sorry, the stock. As you can see, I'll draw actually, maybe easier, right? Going downwards, right? Making lower lows, even lower highs, really. However, on the flip side, we are on the RSI making higher lows, higher highs. That right there is just, textbook bullish divergence, right? Kind of back when I talked about this being a really textbook bear flag. This right here, in my opinion, is a quite a textbook bullish divergence, which is good. Now, this does not mean that the bounce is here necessarily. It does not mean that, okay, Monday, that's it. This is the bottom. Now we go. It could. It very well could. But I personally don't see anything super hinting at that just yet. And what does that mean? Essentially, what I get from that, and what I mean by that, is the fact that, remember how I always tell you Mondays tend to rhyme with Fridays? Again, 7 out of 10 times. Again, that's just a rough number that I, just made up. But, more often than not is the point I'm trying to make here. More often than not, Mondays rhyme with Fridays. That doesn't mean that Monday will be just as red as Friday. It could be more, it could be less. But the point is that there's a decent chance that it will be overall red. So with that being said, personally, what I still wouldn't be surprised to see is if we have a little bit more red on Monday, maybe come down and maybe double bottom again, this 262 potentially, right? That's not impossible, right? Get a nice little double bottom on this area. This major level that I've had here for how long? You can go back a few weeks ago. I had this red line here for a while, right? Maybe double bottom here. I also wouldn't be surprised if we also come down to a little bit lower, because don't forget, guys, there is a gap fill right here sitting at 258. So that's also another key level to pay attention to, and another gap fill all the way down to 247. So that's important to keep in mind, right? But ultimately, I do like the fact that the bullish divergences are starting to set up. Even on the 4 hour, it's still there. It's starting to look a little shaky. I'm not going to lie. It's looking a little shaky, but it is still more or less there. So to me, again, telling me that the bullish divergence is starting to slowly, and surely take form. And that's a good sign for a potential reversal on the horizon. Moving over to the major indicators that we care about, which at this point, we're pretty much underneath all of them, right? Underneath the 21 EMA. I did say that I do think we'll touch the red line on the Bollinger Band yesterday. We pretty much did that exactly today. That also does not mean that we're ready to bounce. We can still very easily go a little bit lower. Like I said, I still wouldn't be surprised if we gap fill either one of these two gaps. I think the worst case scenario before this October bounce and rally that happens, which I still think will happen, I think the worst case realistically for that, which pretty much would happen next week, in my opinion, would be this 247. I really don't think we'll go lower than this 247. But I really wouldn't be surprised if we come down to this 258 gap fill. So essentially, if I were to give it odds, I would give it like a 30% chance we just bounce from here, or maybe double bottom at this level again and bounce. And that's the October rally for 2 weeks roughly. Pretty much 30%, it's 33% chance each, in all honesty, or maybe even higher, maybe 40% chance we double bottom here, 40% chance we come down to this level over here in a gap fill, and the last 20% is the fact that we come all the way down to 247. I think this is the least likely personally, but again, the fact that it's still a possibility means that you should in theory be prepared for it, and I very well will be. I made a small day trade today, made a quick $100, but I entered more sold positions as well. Just one more sold put, which is a bullish position, which is fine. This one I sold for all the way down to $235 for October 21st, which pretty much puts me all the way at here. I sold it for about $9, I believe it is, which, of course, equates to 900 because it's times 10, right? Rather 100, which pretty much makes my average on that sold put around 225. So pretty much as long as Tesla isn't below 225 by October 21st, or at least, just essentially doesn't go straight down well below that, pretty much from here, I'm good. And that's kind of the situation that I'm putting myself in, right? Which is personally the way I like to trade. My favorite way of trading, selling puts and selling calls, right? Anyway, that's not the point. The point is the fact that that's essentially what I see happening on the 30-minute. You can see the bullish divergence is definitely, setting up, looking pretty okay, looking not bad, as the stock is kind of pointing straight down. The RSIs are essentially pointing straight up, right? One of them is going southeast, one of them is going northeast. great sign so far, which is good. I like to see that. That makes me feel good, makes me feel comfortable. If Monday's more red, which I still think there's like a 50 to 60% chance it will be, I will be entering a little bit more bullish positions. And I'm slowly kind of, entering these positions as the stock keeps falling, because I don't know exactly where the bottom will be. Nobody does. I just know it's somewhere around here, at least for the next short rally. Which again, I think will be the next, roughly 2 weeks into October. And I've been saying that for quite a while. That's kind of what I'm seeing at the very moment, ladies and gentlemen. Taking a very quick look in the weekly, however, the weekly tells a bit of a longer story. So first and foremost, this candle on the weekly is quite atrocious, but we've had pretty atrocious candles before on the weekly, like for instance this one here, followed by like a massive rally. So take it with a grain of salt, of course, as usual. However, it is a pretty atrocious looking weekly candle regardless of how you put it. And based on how the weekly looks like, you can see that there's a lot of trading and demand and supply and everything, just a lot of action happening within this area, which is why ultimately I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla comes down to this area at least one more time, maybe go lower. If we break this red line, then we'll definitely go quite lower, at the very least to like 180 in my opinion, if this red line breaks, I think. So ideally you don't want to see this red line break, but if it does, in theory, pretty much, let's just say we come all the way down, just as an example. Let me delete this. I don't know what the hell this even is. Go back to the drawing tool. Right, so let's just in theory say we come all the way down here, and let's just say we break it, as an example. We can do something like this, come back, probably retest, probably fail, and then come down to either here or come down to here, is what I would expect personally. So we'll see what happens. Of course, we'll get to it if it gets there. We'll talk about it if the situation arises. I think there's an okay chance of it happening. I wouldn't call it a high chance, but I wouldn't give it a low chance either, necessarily to come down to, like 210, let's say, something like that. At the very least, if not 187. But again, all the way down here, that's getting a little spicy. We'll see. This would be an amazing buying opportunity, though, if you somehow self-cash by then, if you haven't, bought all the way up here still. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you think down below. I think there was one more thing I wanted to talk about. I just cannot for the life of me remember what that was. So yeah, I guess I don't remember what it was. I guess we'll talk about quickly the VIX and stuff like that. So you can see the VIX is still kind of playing out its head and shoulders pattern, more or less. Let's go on the 1 hour actually, right? So you can see here, it's, it tried to play it out and it bounced right off of this red line again. So, the VIX is in a bit of an interesting spot. So we'll have to see what it does with that as well. The SPY is just looking atrociously bad. However, it is, it's just not looking good. Let's just say that. However, the SPY, just as Tesla is, and the market in general, is also setting up a bullish divergence. Same concept as it's making lower lows. As it's making lower lows, as you can see like this, the stock, or the RSI rather, is of course still making these higher lows, which is fantastic. Again, all that tells me is that the bounce is right around the corner, man. It really is. It really feels like it is. This is just, it just feels like it is. I don't know what else to say. Again, I don't know if it'll be necessarily Monday or Tuesday. I think it'll start Tuesday. That's just a guess. I think Monday might be a little bit more red, or at least like some consolidation-ish. But I expect potentially that it starts Tuesday, if not maybe like the second half of Monday or something like that. Maybe Monday what we get is like a massive gap down, maybe like a sell-off, and then we get like a green hammer candle, which will also signify a potential reversal, which will be quite bullish. And the final thing I want to talk about actually, which was this, I remember now, is the fact that today, of course, we have Tesla AI Day. I'm very excited for it. But again, I want to make this very clear. Everyone always tries to, and I used to do this too. I'm not saying it's wrong. But they try to always correlate news to stock action, to stock price action, which, for maybe like a day or two, maybe it'll affect it. But ultimately, the point is the fact that the trend is set in stone, guys. I want to make it clear. The trend is set in stone. The trend is down. It is what it is. Regardless if we get bounces here or not, the trend is down until something says otherwise. At the moment, it is just pointing straight down, right? I want to make that very clear. It doesn't matter what Tesla delivers with their delivery numbers. I don't even think it matters what Tesla AI Day brings. I really don't think it matters. All that will do is potentially affect the next day or two of just trading. Other than that, I really, truly, and that's the reason I don't bring it up as often as I maybe used to, because I strongly believe it doesn't actually affect the horizon, if you will, like the next, month of action, let's say. I think it'll just affect maybe a day or two. That's it. With that being said, however, that's part of the reason why I also believe Monday there's a chance for it being red, is because usually when Tesla has things like, AI Day, or like the battery day, if you guys remember, or like the previous AI Day, pretty often Tesla sells off after those events. And the main reason is because a lot of people don't know what the hell they just listened to. They just hear a bunch of gibberish, a bunch of fancy talk from, Elon and all those guys. And they're like, wow, this is not what we want to hear. We just want to hear more revenue and more numbers. And that's all we want to hear, because, that's all Wall Street cares about. They don't really care about, battery day and what it means for the future. They just want to hear like short term, oh yeah, our numbers went up by 50%. And that's all we care about. That's all they want to hear. So Tesla AI Day, in my opinion, will be something like that, where, people at Wall Street, they're just not going to hear what they want to hear. They're not going to hear, the most basic, boring, like, oh yeah, our revenue is up by this amount or this, Elon, and they're going to be talking about things that are hard to understand and things that are substantially farther into the future, which, unfortunately is not what helps us stock in the short term. Let's just say that. So I do think I did de-risk a tiny bit off of those shares that I told you that did day trade. I entered shares pretty much at the bottom here, sold them somewhere up here, made a quick $100 on it, only 25 shares. But I sold them mainly because I did want to keep my portfolio with shares at the moment. My second portfolio, the smaller one, only half in shares, and I want to keep the rest in cash, again, in case Monday's more red and or we get that sell-off after the AI day. But that's it for me, guys. A little bit of a longer video, 15 minutes long, but there's a lot to update you guys. Hopefully you find these videos useful. Pretty ugly close, but we'll see what happens on Monday, of course. But regardless, I personally think the bounce for October, at least for the first half of October, is around the corner. I really strongly believe that. So we'll see, we'll see if that happens or not. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think down below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. And I'll see you guys not tomorrow, but Monday. Peace, 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 peace.